Did you convert any carnivores in the store to the dark side of veganism?
Dark side? It's actually the light side. I'll correct you there.
First up today, though, what is enough to be considered offensive in a public place here in Perth? What do you think the highest court in the state would define as offensive behaviour when it comes to actions and words on the streets, or in this case, in a shop in the city centre? Because that's exactly the question that the Supreme Court has just dealt with in an appeal that was launched by notorious vegan activist Tash Peterson. Now, you might recall Natasha, as the court must refer to her, got herself in a spot of bother on the 21st of August last year when she walked naked, apart from a flesh-coloured G-string, into the upmarket Louis Vuitton boutique in central Murray Street. The top half of her body was also covered in a red substance which was intended to appear to be blood. Her own lawyers later described the outfit as designed to resemble a flayed animal. Tash was also wearing a sign that stated, "I'd rather be naked than wear somebody else's skin." She was also accompanied by two men who were filming her, presumably for her social media posts later. Now, during the 2 minutes that followed in the store, she shouted a number of things, which included things like, who was murdered for your leather bag, down jacket and woolen jumper? You are contributing to a Holocaust. If you are not vegan, you are an animal abuser. She shouted, Louis Vuitton have blood on their hands, and so do you if you're not vegan. They were skinned alive, they were shot in the head. If you're not vegan, you paid for their brutal murder. This is murder. This is blood on your hands, etc., so forth. Now, she was also wrestled with by one of the store workers who tried to take her sign from her, but apart from that, it was pretty much all over. Now, as a result, she was charged and convicted with behaving in a disorderly manner in a public place and copped a fine of $1,500. Now, Tash Peterson appealed that ruling, and this week in the Supreme Court, Justice Amanda Forrester has decided on what does and does not amount to offensive behaviour in a public place. And unfortunately for Ms. Peterson, her conduct, according to the Supreme Court, was publicly offensive, criminally offensive under the law, and the appeal was dismissed. Tash Peterson, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you.
Tash, the law says it is official. You were offensive to others.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I think it's a clear infringement on my right to speak up for those who literally cannot speak up for themselves. And I'm just speaking factual words here and using my voice and my body for those who have no bodily autonomy.
But the judge is saying the way in which you did it took away the rights of the others to go about their business. I suppose, given that, Tash, are you prepared to apologise to those other shoppers for the offensive behaviour?
Absolutely not, and it's not going to deter me from continuing to speak up in the way that I do for non-human animals. The slight inconvenience that I may have caused to staff members and customers is nothing in comparison to the billions and trillions of animals that are brutally murdered every year in the food, fashion, animal entertainment, racing, testing, etc. industries.
But Tash, here's the thing, your case really is at the heart of the debate, isn't it, about how far you can go as a protester to make your point without harming or offending others.
Everyone's going to be offended by something, and that doesn't mean someone should be criminally charged because they've hurt someone's feelings by speaking the truth. I'm just speaking factual language here to describe the atrocities that non-human animals are subjected to. The animal industries themselves use euphemisms such as artificial insemination and slaughter, but I'm using words such as rape, enslavement, abuse, torture, and murder because that's exactly what happens in the meat, dairy, and egg industries and other industries that abuse animals. I am literally speaking the truth here. I've seen these things firsthand myself, and it will never stop me from speaking in the way that I do.
You could have, you're freely entitled to that opinion, to that point of view, absolutely. But what's clear from this court ruling is that the law, because this is all about being in a public place, in this case inside a shop, the law allows others to enjoy the use of the shops and public places, and you can't interfere with their right to do that.
But I didn't approach anyone in that moment. I didn't actually stop anyone from purchasing any products. I went about and to speak up and let people know the truth, because I think everyone has the right to know what is happening to animals. These industries are blatantly lying to them, making them believe that something humane happens in a slaughterhouse when an animal's forced into a gas chamber where they burn from the inside out, or they're bolt gunned in the brain. And I'm just trying to let customers know that they have the right to know what's going on. And I'm not infringing on anyone's right to purchase products. I'm just trying to say that non-human animals should have rights too, and you should not be paying for their abuse and murder.
The two factors, though, Tash, that the judge really didn't like, neither did the shoppers, but according to the legal principles, was your language and your appearance. She said you presented a confronting image, and what you said was deliberately provocative and emotive. Do you accept that?
Definitely, because what is happening to animals is a huge injustice. It's the largest Holocaust in history. So of course my message and the way I present myself to convey that message is going to be confronting to people. And it's nothing in comparison to what animals are going through. If people find the blood on my body confronting and offensive, then they should actually see the footage in Dominion, the documentary, and see what's actually happening to the very thing that they are funding with their money every time they eat animal products or buy any other animal products.
But that is the whole point, isn't it? Because people can go home and they can choose or not choose to watch that documentary that you're talking about, for example. But in this case, they couldn't choose to turn away because you imposed yourself on them in a public place. That's the whole point of this decision.
I'm speaking up for animals who have no choice in this. People could choose to walk out of the store and not listen to me, or they could choose to listen to my message. But at the end of the day, non-human animals do not have a choice. They are forced into murder factories where they are brutally murdered. They fight until their very last breath. In the dairy industry, cows are raped and their babies are taken away from them. These animals just have no choice whatsoever.
You were treating the shoppers in exactly the same way that you're railing against for the animals. You gave them no choice. That's the whole point. That's what the law said. So
everyone has the right to speak up a truth. I'm just going into a store and speaking my words. People can choose whether they listen or not. I'm not infringing on anyone's rights.
Right.
Well, but you are, according to the law, Tash. That's what this whole debate is about. Let me ask you this. Having been through the court process, this has been lengthy because obviously originally you were convicted, now you've lost the appeal. But having been through that entire process, do you intend to turn the volume dial down just a fraction?
Absolutely not. I will not let this deter me. In fact, I will only become louder and louder for non-human animals.
So it was worth the $1,500 and a conviction, you think?
Absolutely. Any criminal conviction or fine I receive is nothing in comparison to what non-human animals are subjected to, and I'll never stop speaking up for them.
But Tash, apart from the headlines, I mean, what do you achieve in a public place like that? I mean, did you convert any carnivores in a store to the dark side of veganism?
Dark side? It's actually the light side. I'll correct you there. But I'm not sure to be.
Depends on what side of the fence you're on. I mean, I think it's the dark side. But I mean, I don't care. You can eat as many mung bean burgers as you like. I'm just saying that that's not my part of the world. But I don't want you to force that upon me in a public place on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of the city, and the judge says neither does anybody else.
Yes, and I'd rather that you not force innocent individuals into murder factories to be shot in the head just because you like the taste of their bodies or you want some leather shoes. So your views are so forceful, someone's abused, tortured and murdered because of them, and I'm just trying to stop that. Veganism is the side of justice and non-animal abuse, and you can choose to continue contributing to that Holocaust. That's completely your choice, but that's just the wrong side of history, and that's not fair for others of different species.
Yeah. That's the other thing. I mean, the judge made a point of that. She said that your use of the word Holocaust was just not on.
Well, the definition of a Holocaust is a mass-scale destruction or slaughter, and that's exactly what is happening to non-human animals. In fact, it's the largest Holocaust in history because 3 trillion individuals are brutally murdered every year just for human food consumption.
So I'll just ask you again, do you think anyone in that store was converted to your message, to your side of the argument by behaving in that way?
I don't know because no one has told me that, but I'm sure a seed was planted in their mind, and that's exactly the purpose of my protest, is to create awareness and at least plant a seed in someone's mind and hopefully get them to see the documentary Dominion and see what they're funding, because people have no idea. They're so oblivious to what they're actually funding. And more importantly, it is to gain media attention and spread that message. Through that protest, I did not only reach people in that moment in that shopping centre, but I reached millions of people across the world with my message. And I receive messages every day from people around the world saying that I've caused them to go vegan.
Tash, maybe you've reached some other people in the wrong way. Would you counter that suggestion?
Not at all. If I've reached anyone, they have heard my message and they know about me, and it would spark conversation. And I don't care if it's really negative conversation about me or not, as long as non-human animals are being spoken about. That's all that matters to me.
All right. Well, look, thanks very much for having a chat to us this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Tash Peterson there. I've got to say, I mean, now notorious vegan activist, but that case being decided in the Supreme Court this week. And that defines the parameters